Hey everyone, and welcome to 15 Minutes to Merge, the show where we show you, the audience, in 15 minutes how to do something awesome with GitHub. With us today, we have a very, very awesome guest, Marc Diker. Welcome, Marc.
Thanks, April. Nice to be here.
Great to have you here. So, for everyone out there that's watching today, can you tell them who you are and what it is you do?
Yeah, so I'm Mark. I'm a senior developer advocate at Digrid, where we build products for developers so they can build and run distributed applications built on Dapper open source.
Awesome. Now, open source is huge and super important in the community and with enterprises. But more importantly, today, we're going to talk about what is a dev container, and you're going to show us how to actually configure one from scratch.
Exactly. Yeah. Dev containers are really super useful because they can save developers a lot of time. Because with a dev container, you can give developers access to like a pre-packaged development environment that comes like pre-installed with the right OS, the right tools, the right languages, the right frameworks. So there's like no more yak shaving involved before you can actually start to contribute.
And it gives you consistency across your team as well. So everyone has the same tooling. So whether that's linting tools, testing tools, language tools, whatever you need. And I don't know about you, Marc, but I've got a PC and a Mac in front of me. And switching between the two machines is really hard. And dev containers will help us solve that, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm in the same situation. So yeah, definitely it's great if you have multiple machines, but also if you're in need in teams. So you don't have to spend a lot of time setting up your machine if you're just onboarding to a new team. But also in open source projects, right, where you have like many different contributions from many different people across the entire world. It's very easy and helpful to have these dev containers.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and get started, and you can show us how to configure our first dev container.
Yeah, let me share my screen where we can have a look at the dev container specification first. Here we go. All right, so we are going to talk about dev containers in this session, and what I'm sharing here on my screen is a browser that points to containers.dev, and that is the specification about development containers. Development containers are a really cool feature that really allows developers anywhere to run your code in your repo. So there's no need to install your frameworks or install any tools because those can all be pre-packaged in these development containers.
And Marc, how many different machines do you code on, like in your job?
I have two different machines, and one is Windows based and one is a Mac based, so they're quite different. So yeah, dev containers really makes it very easy for me actually to work across different machines. So also for me itself, it's really quite useful.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'm the same. I've got a Mac, I've got a PC. Actually, I have two PCs. So I can move between my machines pretty seamlessly, and I don't have to get anything configured because the Mac and the PC do set up very differently.
Yeah, I think it's not only good for your own development, or maybe your entire team development, because your team also doesn't need to do any setup. So it's also great for like onboarding new people because they don't spend another day on setting up a whole new system. But it's also great for people who just want to try out a bit of an open source contributions, or just want to try out a demo that I've published somewhere on the internet. Because maybe they want to just simply try out a feature, and maybe then after an hour they say, okay, I don't like it, or I just want to clean up my stuff again. So yeah, also for those people, dev containers and GitHub code space is really ideal.
Awesome. So cool. Let's go ahead and see how you set up a dev container.
Yes, exactly. So this website just talks about the specification, which is quite a bit a dry material. So don't read all this. What is very good to know is that a lot of different IDEs support these dev containers, and one of them is GitHub Codespaces. So this is from the Codespaces documentation, and in this diagram you can see how dev containers are used on GitHub. So you have your container that contains all of the dependencies, and of course also your source code repository and all of your tools. And this dev container will be running remotely in the VM that's hosted on Azure. And you can connect to that code space or dev container from different tools. So you can either connect it from your local VSCode or just via a browser or via other tools. Another nice thing about GitHub Codespaces, especially if you are contributing to open source and now and then, is that you get quite some hours for free. Where is it?
I believe you get about 120 hours for free. It depends on your compute as well and how much data consumption you're using as well.
Yeah, exactly. Here we see the prices. It depends on how many cores of you use in your VM. So if you have just 2 cores, you can get 60 hours for free, which is great. And so if you just update some documentation or things like that, definitely like a small machine is fine. But they're definitely like bigger machines if you want to do some heavier development. Okay, so in this session, we're going to talk about the Dapper workflows demos repository that I have, and this contains 2 .NET projects. And it would be great if people can just try out this demo just straight in the browser using GitHub code spaces.
Yeah, because this is an open source project, right, Mark?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I get started with any project, open source, even internal, the time to get started can really put me off. So I notice in this repository, there isn't a dev container. So you're going to show us how to create a dev container. So literally anyone can get started on this project.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So let's configure one right now, and I will use
All right.
VSCode to do that. So here we are in VS Code, and I've cloned the Dapper workflow demos on my machine. I've created a new branch at Devcontainer and haven't made any changes yet. What I do have installed is the Devcontainer extension. That's this one, Devcontainers. And that allows me to easily add a Devcontainer configuration to my repo. Okay, so I'm going to hit Command-Shift-P or Control-Shift-P since I'm on Windows. And I select this Devcontainers add Devcontainer configuration files. And then what follows is like a wizard. So I can select the image which I'm basing the dev container on, and I can add some features there as well that will be pre-installed on the dev container. So in this repo, there is a Docker Compose file that they can use as a basis, but in this case, I'm not going to select that. I want to start from another image. So I'll choose from a predefined container configuration definition. The samples in this repo are based on .NET, so I'll choose the C#.NET dev container. I'll choose the latest version because these samples are also based on .NET 8. And in this step, I can select some features that will be installed in this dev container. So this is a Dapper open source demo. So what I need here is the Dapper CLI. So if you just type Dapper here, there's a Dapper CLI. So I'll select that. And if you use the Dapper CLI, that also uses some Docker containers. So I also need to have the Docker in Docker feature. That is this one. So this is needed because Dapper uses Docker because you always have like a Docker container for Redis, for instance, and also for Zipkin that'll be used in these demos.
And that's really good because people always ask if we can run a container in a container. So if you're doing any kind of Redis work or need to run a container, Docker and Docker is absolutely the way to go.
Exactly. All right. So those are the only 2 features we need. So let's continue. I'm okay with the defaults. If you want to specify things further, you can configure the options, but in this case, the defaults are fine. So now what we have here, okay, so we have a notification that a dependable file YAML already exists, and it asks, do you want to overwrite this? We actually don't, because then I'll lose the content in there, so we'll skip this, and we can update it later. So what you see here now, we have a .devcontainer folder with a devcontainer.json file. And VSCode is already asking for, do you want me to reopen this repository in this container? But no, let's not do that yet because we first need to add or tweak a few things in this JSON file. So this dev container always has a name. In this case, I'll make it a bit more specific. I'll make it Dapper workflow demo. So it's based on this image, the .NET 8.0 image. That's fine, and we see the features here: the Docker in Docker feature and the Dapper CLI feature. Okay, that's great. What we need to do now is we need to configure a couple of things. So we need to actually forward some ports because this repo contains like 2 different applications, and they are like ASP.NET applications. So we need to actually enable them to actually open the application using certain ports so they are accessible.
And that's often with not only ASP.NET applications, but also if you're connecting to a database, you have to open certain ports. And I love this because actually I was working on a Dapper project a few months ago with someone, and they're like, "Oh, I can't get the ports open," and they were struggling. And we were actually able to do this exact thing: create the forwarded ports within the devcontainer.json file, and that resolved all of our port forwarding issues.
Exactly. Yeah, this ports networking can be tricky, but in this case, if you need to know, if you know what you're doing, then it becomes easy. So in this case, need to make sure you need copy the ports that you want to have enabled in this forward port section. So now I need to find the ports in these two solutions. So I've specified those in my depper.yaml file. So this is in the basic workflow samples. There's a depper.yaml file here, which is usually run to start the application. So if I click on that, I see that there's an application port here, which I need, and also the Depper HTTP port. So those two I will add in here. But there are two applications, so I'm going to do the same thing for the order process that also has a Depper YAML file. I'm actually going to extend this, open this here. And this example has two different applications, so there are like even more ports. So some more copy pasting here.
When in doubt, copy paste.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and there is another Depper port here as well, 3501. Okay, so now we have all the ports that need to be forwarded, so we can actually access our application from this dev container, so that's good. But there's some more things that need to be done. For instance, when we use this dev container, then I also would like to have some VSCode extensions enabled. So there's this customization section where we can do that. So customizations allow some configuration instructions for the different tooling that support dev containers. So in this case, we have like VSCode, and then we have like extensions, and I would like some extensions which are already mentioned in my VSCode configuration in this extensions JSON. So I'm just gonna copy paste the recommendations from my VSCode extensions JSON in this dev container one. All right, so whenever we use the dev container, then also these extensions will be pre-installed. So we have C#, we have the REST client that will be used to start the workflows and get the information from the workflows. And there's a code tool extension that will allow you to go through the code tool that I will configure later.
And also, you'll get to keep your existing extensions that you're using in VS Code. This just ensures that you have the ones you need to work on this project. So it will add them in addition to the ones you already have enabled, which is great.
Yeah, exactly. All right. There's still one thing more to do, because when users clone this repo or use a code base for this repo, I want them to immediately use the Dapper CLI, and also I want to build the .NET solutions. So we can use that post create command. So whenever this dev container is created, a command can be run straight afterwards. So this is the post create command, and I will actually write a small bash script that will install the Dapper CLI and also does a .NET build for the two solutions. So we're actually going to refer to another file that will contain a script. So whenever this dev container is created, it will run this command, bash, and we now need to create a bash script with some more configurations. So here we go. We have scripts and install sh. Right, so I mentioned I want to install Dapper CLI because the Dapper CLI is already there, so it's downloaded, but it's not yet initialized. So that means that there are no Redis and Zipkin Docker containers present already. So I need to do that. So we need to do Dapper init, so that initializes the required Dapper containers. The annoying thing is, if you already have like Dapper running already initialized a previous time, and you do init again, it will complain. It will mention, okay, you already have done this. You need to actually uninstall Dapper before you can run it again. So as a workaround, I'll actually do an uninstall first, and then do an init. And this will make sure that this always runs very clean then. Then I want to build the two .NET applications. So we'll do .NET build, and then we need to provide the right folder. So basic workflow samples. And another .NET build for the order process. Okay, so this will build the two solutions, and then the entire solution is good to go for the user to actually start the workflow. Okay, so that's a script, and the script is called from this dev container in this post create command. The final thing that we need to do is actually uncomment this, because since we are running a script that will use a .NET build command, and the build command will create some files, and by default there's no access to actually create these files, which get created on build. So that's why we need to set the remote user to root, so the build can actually succeed. Okay, I think this is it. So what we can do now is actually rebuild the container based on this configuration and reopen the current folder, the current repository in this dev container. So let's do that first and see if everything works. And if that works, we can continue to the next step, and that's actually make a GitHub code space based on this dev container.
Very cool.
All right, so now we're in the part that the post create command option is running. So we now see that the Dapper CLI is invoked. It first is trying to do an uninstall, and it doesn't exist, which is totally fine. And then it does the install. So we see that the Dapper Redis container is running, Dapper Zipkin is running, Dapper placement container is running. So all is good. And here we are building the .NET applications. And since there are actually two, my extension is now asking for, hey, do you want to load any of these Visual Studio files? But no, thank you. All right, so now the post create command is finished. Both these applications have been built, and all is well. So this is good.
It's really good. So we've given everything. We ran the script, which was successful. It's given us the extensions we needed. Open the ports. That's pretty good. Pretty fast.
Yeah. So now we are actually in the dev container, as you can see here. Oh, so it says dev container Dapper workflow demo. I'm going to click on it, actually switch back into the local folder. Okay, let's now commit the changes that we made, because we have a dev container now, and we have an install script, and we need to commit this to this branch. Then we can merge it, and then we can start with the GitHub code space. All right, we are going to publish this branch. We are going to create a pull request against main. We have to wait on some actions to complete, and then we can merge it. All right, so now the actions have succeeded, so we can now merge our pull request back into main. So let's do that. Merge our pull request. There we go. And we can actually delete this branch both locally and on GitHub. That's totally fine. Okay, let's head over to GitHub now, because in this main branch, we should now have our dev container. So
there
here we go.
Is. Our happy little dev container file. Marc, thank you so much for showing us how to build a dev container today. So for everyone out there, they can get started building their own dev containers for every single project that they're working on, because every repo should have a dev container, right?
Definitely. Yeah, they save so much time and so much yak shaving. I love them.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And we're also going to put a link in the description for everyone with a repository of a lot of different dev container folders. So you can look at them, reference them, and get started really quickly and copy some of those configs in. So thank you all for joining today on 15 Minutes to Merge. We'll see you all next time. And thank you so much, Marc, for joining us as well.
My pleasure. Bye.
Bye.